But yeah, so we have America Ilsintech here on the hot seat, which is awesome. These guys have been great. Brad Everett has brought a lot of value to the table with getting me educated personally. Also, Fiber Cartel is the first person. I'm wearing his shirt. He's out of Los Angeles. He's the guy that actually introduced me to the all-in-one splicer. So I've actually been trained on the device. But we also have Dave and Pete to talk about it, and we have a presentation. So I really appreciate everybody coming together today on this LVN hot seat. I'm going to kick it over to Dave first.
Yes.
Is that correct?
You got it.
Let's do it.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. It's a good opportunity for us to, again, put out the word. A lot of folks know what we do, but some people don't. And, we're excited about it. So we are based in Carrollton, in the US, based in Carrollton, Texas. Our headquarters is in South Korea. And we've got facilities for manufacturing in both South Korea and Indonesia. And in Texas, we just moved into a new, larger facility due to, we've gone through some tremendous growth over the last few years, and we needed to do more, faster, bigger, and better. So we've got a new facility, and we do everything here stateside. So, from inventory, which is aired in, there's no slow boats from anywhere, to repairs and maintenance, which are turned around in a couple of days out of our site down there. Everything is done here in the U.S., and we've got really good, the real good ability to view in to the organization and make sure everything runs smoothly. I am in charge of service provider markets in the US and Canada, which means anybody or any customer that sells services to a subscriber. So whether it's a co-op putting out a fiber to the home network, or some type of 5G network, or if it's just your standard telco or MSO, independent, small, big, and indifferent, as well as their contractors. So essentially 100% of the service provider work, these days, maybe 50, 60% is done by contractors. And it's done to rigid standards set by the telco or the MSO on that contract. But we let the contractors leverage that pricing in the service provider space. So we call on the contractors are just important as a customer as that service provider himself. Pete Delorier is on the call with me today. Pete's in charge of the enterprise data center markets. I'll kick it over to him in a second, and he can explain to you what markets he covers and how they cover them. And our go-to-market strategy is a hybrid model of territory, regional managers, and rep firms. One thing unique about Ilsintech, which we claim and we feel is true, is that we have the largest dedicated sales force to connectorization, meaning splicing and connectors, cable assemblies and the like, in the US. Some of our competitors have very broad lines. Okay, so even though they've got guys that sell splicers, they also sell fiber, they sell all kinds of different tools that don't keep them focused on connectivity. So we've got, between our direct sales force of, I think we're a dozen, and we've got the country covered with manufacturer reps on both sides of the house. So we've got broadband reps and we've got enterprise reps. So there's an overlay there in the territory. We've got a very deep stable to support all of our customers. And every day our focus is, what can we do for our customer today? And it's only around connectivity. So with that, I'll kick it over to Pete, and you can discuss, to give him an overview of your markets, and then we'll go to the next slide.
Outstanding. Thanks, Dave. First, I want to say thank you to Blake and Low Voltage Nation. I'm really excited to have this opportunity today to really speak about what America Ilsintech brings to the industry. You guys have done really great in helping get us some exposure, and I really appreciate that, Blake. So thank you very much. I got to tell you, I'm excited about America Ilsintech. I've been with them for 7 years now, and I've been in the industry for 30. And I got to tell you, I thought I had seen everything. I thought I had seen all splicers. I thought I had seen every tool. My boss said, no, you got to take a look at this. I took a look at it and I knew right away this is a game changer. Again, as Dave mentioned, I am in charge of the enterprise markets. I handle data center, enterprise, contractors, and are pretty much any specialty markets as well, military, harsh environment, and oil and gas, those types of markets. And really our go-to-market strategy is one of we primarily try to sell to the contractor and end user, utilizing a distribution channel all the way through start to finish on the sell. We've been highly successful in North America. I'd say in 7 years, we've grown exponentially year over year. We've gone from, there were 3 field employees and 3 inside employees to, I think we're 25 strong now. So that's just a testament to how truly powerful our product is. And once you're able to see it, you're really able to appreciate what it's capable of. Why don't you advance me through the slides there, Dave? Go ahead. So what's unique about America Ilsintech, and if you haven't heard the name or saw the product, then you haven't heard of the all-in-one. And the all-in-one is truly what is special about our product. This incorporates every tool you would need to physically do a splice all in one unit. So it's going to have the stripper, cleaner, cleaver, splice chamber, and heater all on one unit. This allows you to maximize your productivity while minimizing your workspace, and you're able to really get up and going by a matter of turning the power on, and that's it. You are ready to go and ready to start splicing. We carry a full line of straight splice, fixed, active clad, and core aligned splicers, both in the all-in-one and what we consider to be the traditional freestanding splicers. Our freestanding splicers are a fully kitted splicer. They do come with a standalone cleaver, the strippers, everything you do need to physically do the splice, but again, doesn't carry that all-in-one technology. Dave? Here's just a brief overview of the products we carry. And again, what you'll see is up top is what we consider traditional, conventional all-in-ones. These are our current Me Too products, so to speak. If you have a splicer out there, we're going to have an equivalent to that. The fixed fiber splicing, that's going to be on our KR12 multi-core ribbon splicer. That's just it's a 2-motor operation. That's essentially an in and out application that faces the fibers and splices them. Next step up is a single fiber active clad. And what that does is that's essentially going to align the outer diameter of the cladding and give you some sense of alignment on your fiber. Now, again, the concentricity of today's fiber is so great that this product right here, the KF4 and the KF4A, are typically all you need on that last mile application. That's going to accommodate just about any splicing need you have, whether it be straight splice, if you're splicing on pigtail, if you're splicing on an actual splice-on connector. Stepping up from that is going to be the K33 and the K11. We do have a K11, but we are phasing that out. The newest model is the K33. That's a core-aligned IPOS technology splicer. IPOS is image pattern alignment analysis system. It's essentially what that does is it differentiates the difference between your cladding glass and your core glass. It locks in on the core and is then able to physically, it's got 6 motors, so it's physically able to fully align your core glass and give you ultimately the best alignment possible. And then on the bottom row there, you see all the all-in-ones. And again, this has truly been our claim to fame. This has been our door opener. We have been able to really get in front of many clients that may not have been interested, but once they actually saw the technology, saw the application, they were willing to look at it and truly understand the value that it brings to the overall platform. And we also have a full line of standalone cleavers. That's how our company physically started in the 80s. We were a manufacturer of just standalone cleavers. And then we adopted the fusion splicing technology. And ultimately, our CEO devised the all-in-one technology. It is a patented technology here in the US, North America. So if you see it, then you're seeing an America Ilsintech fusion splicer. So the greatest thing about some of our product, our cleaver blades, they're rated up to 74,000 cleaves. In my opinion, that's almost the life of a splicer. But if that it also comes with a set of electrodes that are good up to 23,000 arcs. Also has a spare set of those, so you're going to get upwards of 40,000 plus physical arcs out of the purchase of one of our units. Dave? This is kind of a breakdown of what our KF4A looks like. This is our #1 selling product. Again, as I mentioned, this is a last mile product, and pretty much everybody has seen that's using our product is using it in that last mile atypically. What you'll see from top going clockwise, you got the automatic thermal stripper. The automatic thermal stripper essentially will strip the fiber, and you're looking at about 1 inch of fiber, jacketed 900 micron or 250. It will strip in 2 seconds down to the 125 glass, bare glass. This is the shining piece of our product. Once somebody sees that application, they can right away see the value in that. The value of automatic thermal stripping is you're physically heating up the jacketing and pulling it off, versus manual strippers where you can nick and scratch the cladding that you eliminate by using an automatic thermal stripper. So next around, you have the auto rotating cleaver that, again, it's got 24 positions on the blade. And every time you activate the door, you rotate the blade to the next position. You get about 3,000 cleaves per position. So that's where we're getting, it says 75, you're about 75,000 cleaves. Right next to that, you'll see a shard bin. That's an automatic shard bin. So essentially, once you activate your cleaver, it grabs the physical piece of fiberglass, pulls it into that little shard bin. So what that does is it contains all of your glass on a project. And then once you pull out of the project, you can remove the trash bin and empty your glass. But again, it contains all of your scrap on the site. Next around, wing cover. The wing cover underneath that is the your physical splicing unit. Again, we can splice any fiber, single mode, multi-mode, OS 1 and 2, OM 1, 2, 3, and 4. It really is a very versatile splicer when it comes to what its application. It can do 652, 657, bend and sensitive. So there are many options. You can do OM2 to OM3, OM2 to OM4, whatever your application is, you can actually do 3 to 4, 3 to 5. We have the ability to splice just about any combination. Your LCD screen, that's a 5-inch LCD screen. It is not a touch screen. You do have to manually scroll through on this product. On some of the ribbon splicer and the core splicers, those are actually interactive GUIs. You can actually touch the screen and move throughout the menus with just a single touch. Coming over, you have the optional VFL power meter module. So this is really good in order to test your connectors when after your splice, you can plug it into the VFL, turn your VFL on by the push of a button, and you can see if you've got any physical breaks in the splice or the glass right there at the connector prior to closing it up and paneling it. The cleaning station, that's just a little pump where you can pull that cleaning station out, fill it up again with your fiber cleaning solution, put it back in, and then it's ready to go. And then your sleeve heater in the back. And again, there's every type of physical sleeve that you can imagine, you can actually heat in that sleeve chamber. So this truly is a solid piece of equipment that allows the most seasoned guy to be a better performer. But what it also does is it allows the entry-level technician to come in and in a relatively short time be able to be splicing physical fiber under the guidance of an experienced fiber splicer. Dave?
Okay, so this is an interesting chart. It shows our splicer sales. It's in percentages of year over year, traditional versus all-in-one. So the blue bar is the total sales for the year, and the orange bar is our all-in-one sales, and the gray bar is our traditional sales. So as you see, we've got and remember, we're the only ones with an all-in-one. So when we go up against our competition, probably the most asked question at the decision time is, they want to see if they can acquire the all-in-one splicer for the price of a traditional splicer. So then starts off the discussion, right? Because everybody really enjoys the all-in-one technology. And since that's our core business, it's interesting because when you look at these sales numbers, these are all new customers to Ilsintech, right? These aren't customers that move around from company to company every year. They're buying all-in-ones, and this is the wave, and this is where we're headed. And there's a bunch of factors that determine that. The reason and the driving force behind all-in-one splicers right now are the following. One, there's a shortage of experienced fiber techs between the RDOF money and what's going on both in the enterprise data center world with 5G and 40 gig circuits and everybody beefing up their networks. There's not enough people to do the work currently. So it's a great opportunity, especially for low voltage nation folks, right? Fiber is the next boom, okay? In the 1920, I don't know what year, somebody had this idea that we got to wire the whole country for telephone service, right? So they wired the whole country for copper. And that lasted however long that lasted. Now it's got to be fiber, right? If it's a new build anywhere, it's going to have fiber in it for residential. Property values are higher, rental properties are higher. People are moving to locations that have fiber. Everybody wants fiber, and the number I read the other day was we are very low percentage-wise because the country's so big, but our fiber opportunities is, I think it's only like 25% of the population right now have exposure to fiber, which means there's a lot of work ahead of us to get fiber in the ground, let alone upfitting all these office buildings, right, for commercial applications. So because of that, there's a shortage of fiber technicians, and we can take a technician who's never touched fiber before And on my side of the business, we do this constantly. We just offer a half-day training course, which is like a Fiber 101 orientation that gets folks acclimated to fiber, lets them understand the different fiber types, what they're used for, the different connector types, why are they different colors, and all of that. And we spend some time on that, and then we put them on a KF4A, and at the end of 4 hours, they're able to strip fiber and do a connector, which is pretty incredible. When half of them, when they come into the room, don't even want to get too close to the machine because they're afraid it's going to bite them, or they don't know how to do it. And fiber skills are counterintuitive to coax and copper skills. Coax and copper skills are using a lot of force and pressing and pulling and crimping, and fiber is a nuance. When you strip fiber by hand's a nuance. So that's what they've seen, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And then they see the KF4A and it's like, oh, I can definitely do that. And if you look at our video on our webpage on the KF4A, we can get a link up there maybe on the Low Voltage Nation website. But so that shortage of fiber techs, our all-in-one technology enables them to learn the KF4A, and then they've also now learned how to do the other two machines. There's a little more skill involved. However, the process is exactly the same. So you're getting one learning curve for 3 different fiber technologies, which would be clad-align, core-align, and rivet. I touched on the easy adoption rate by copper coax technicians. What we've been hearing now from a lot of the older techs who are on the back end close to retirement is that the all-in-one has extended their career, because to do fiber, your vision needs to be good and you have to have a steady hand the traditional way, because you got to get your fiber in the clamps. And if there's a little tremor or they can't see that good, it causes them some complications. The all-in-one technology, by using holders, and we're not the only one that uses holders, just to be clear, but with the stripping and all of that, it makes it much easier to be a simple process to strip, clean, and cleave fiber, that they've been able to stay on the job and kind of enjoy their job because they're not frustrated with themselves trying to work through some physical impairment. The younger workforce, the millennials and below, they are the ones who are embracing this technology big time, because it's a process. It's not this nuanced skill that they have to learn, right? That they're looking for a much shorter gratification period of figuring something out, doing it, and being able to multitask. And the all-in-one lets you do that. And the millennials just love the all-in-one. You know, there are some older, experienced fiber techs who say they don't need that. Well, nobody needed an automatic transmission when it came out either, but everybody's got one now. So it's just a matter of what you learned, what you're used to, and how stubborn you want to be. Better productivity across the workforce. Pete touched on this earlier. What we can now do is, and then we're starting to see this from the supervisor side of the service provider industry, is that now they could take 10 guys and set realistic expectations on their performance based on the use of holders and the all-in-one and the stripper of strip, clean, cleave. So they can now understand what the outside it should take to maybe, let's say, do a connector should be no more than 4 minutes. Now, guys can do it in 2 and change, but to be realistic, if they know a guy needs 4 minutes to do that, it helps them with their workflow planning, because these installers are out doing, 2, 4, 6 connectors for a fiber to the home, right? And they're trying to figure out how many installs a day because they got to, rush through this stuff. They're getting better workforce management because the metrics are better. And that bleeds into the last bullet point there, that the metrics can be used to plan productivity. So the all-in-one gives you that. When you send 10 guys out with a traditional machine, you're going to get results that are all over the place. You're going to get great results from the top 10%, and then you're going to have, I call him 10 thumbs Tommy, who, that guy, doesn't matter what he does, he's gonna trip over it and break it, and then he'll get started and he'll get it done, but in 3 times the time of everybody else. And everybody knows it about that guy. This narrows the bandwidth between the best and the worst. It's more importantly to bring the bottom up than the top down. So the all-in-one technology does do that. One of the big questions or concerns with some organizations is, well, what if something breaks? Like, what if the thermal stripper breaks, or what if the cleaver breaks, or what if that breaks? And it's a great question. I actually tracked this data, went through about 3 years of RMAs, like gear coming back to us. And all our gear has a 3-year warranty, and it includes 2 maintenance cleanings for free. So that's send the machine back where we clean it, take a look at it, upgrade the software, make sure everything's working. And if something's not, we can fix it, whatever. But, you know, and all that's covered under warranty. That's worth about $200 to $300 if you were to go out and buy it from anybody else. We include it because splicer hygiene is probably the most important thing once you buy any splicer. So like any other splicer, right, these things could break and you would have, it's not built on, but we've had negligible issues with our thermal stripper or the onboard cleaver. Not even worth mentioning that. Most of our RMA, and I have detailed information about that, but the motors are rated for 1 million cycles on the stripper and on the alignment system. The cleaver, as Pete touched on, is good for 75,000 cleaves. The #1 issue for an RMA ultimately comes down to hygiene and cleanliness, that the machine needs to be cleaned every day, sometimes twice a day, depending on how much you're using it. And guys don't do it. And I equate it to, we train, we tell you how to do it, we show you how to do it, we have videos on how to do it. It's no different than when the dentist tells you to floss every day. Some people do, and some people don't. The results are evident to that. So same thing with our fusion splicers. If you clean them, and it doesn't take long to clean them, it's 2 to 3, 4, 5 minutes a day, maybe, and then maybe once a week you give it a real good clean. But when they're outside, especially at a new construction site for fiber to the home, not so much in a data center, which is a nice clean environment, you know, just by opening the case, there's going to get dust on there. So we've got a couple levels of cleaning that we train to, you know, one for the tech side of the house, and then one for maybe a supervisor or an engineering supervisor to do something that's more in depth that we don't want everybody doing. But as I said, most of the RMAs are for cleaning issues, right? The things are dirty, the V grooves are dirty, debris starts to build up. So there is no negligible, there's no difference. And we watch this information very closely. So that's that slide. Connector sales is another thing that we make, are connectors. We're one of 5, I think there's 6 companies in the world that make their own ferrule, which is probably the most critical point of a connector, which is the tip. And we make every component in that connector. So we've seen a sharp rise in sales of connectors over the last few years, and attributed to a couple different factors. On the broadband side, what I can talk to is that there's been a shortage of pre-connectorized gear, or pre-connectorized gear is just so expensive that to make a cable is a fraction of the cost of buying a pre-terminated cable. And as the all-in-one technology becomes more conducive to the workforce, these guys are very comfortable doing connectors and making, you know, just buying bulk cable and doing cable and connectors on their own to length as they need it. They're saving on slack, and they're only using what they need. How about on your side, Pete, with connectors?
So yeah, and the key with my side is that the price point is market competitive, and the cost of adoption of our equipment, if you buy 2,000 connectors, we actually give you the tool. We give you the KF4A fusion splicer to install them. So the cost of adoption is very minimal. And that, with the cost of the actual market competitive cost of the connector, it really has made this solution a cost-effective way to move forward when it comes to fusion splicing and fusion splicing splice-on connector. So,
All right, that's it.
So thank you. That was good. Really great information. I did have a lot of questions. Well, a few questions, but I wanted to see if any of the attendees had any. I'll let them raise their hand if they can at the bottom of the screen. But I'll go ahead and ask my questions. And I think you already touched on a lot of these. I was curious about training. I think you said within 4 hours you can get trained up pretty quickly and be effective in the field splicing fiber. Is that correct?
Yeah, our splicer training consists of a hands-on event, which it's got a slide presentation pretty much explaining what the product is, what the company is all about, what what you actually get with America Ilsintech, and then we actually go into a true hands-on, and we ask that they do at least 5 to 10 individual splices each. This way, they've got a full support system around them in the event that they have any errors. And there is a small learning curve. It really is. We make it look very easy because we've been doing it for quite some time, but it is really that easy. You just have to play with it. Our biggest thing is when you walk out of our training, if you just put that in the back of a car or back of a truck and it sits there, well, it's not doing anybody any good, and you're going to lose that training. So our trainings are, again, pretty much we try to set them up regionally with our regional salesmen in each individual market. And again, they run anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on how big they are and how much hands-on really is involved.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really would love to have maybe even a condensed training for some of our meetups, just to get them like a teaser and get them familiar with it, and then take it to the next level and go through the full training. So that's something to consider.
One other thing too, just to on the broadband side, sometimes we're training 12 people at once, right? They all have machines naturally. We can do it with 2 guys on one machine. They're just getting half as many cycles, right? They're just sharing the work, but it works because they're talking to each other. Like, do this, what do you say? Do this or do that? We let them figure it out. We don't, just tell them do this, do that. We launch them and then let them try to get through it. But then we also find for some of our larger fiber to the home customers that we come back 3 or 4 weeks later and do another sit down with them and hear what their little concerns are, right? Because there's a lot to ingest, and a lot of guys get it, but some guys just need a little tune up, and once they have that, they're kind of good to go. So yeah,
good. Yeah, I did have a hand raised from Lee. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Lee, and ask the question.
All right. Yeah, this is kind of regarding the cleaning process. You still have to manually wipe the fiber. I'll let y'all, I'll unmute, but then also, I guess the thermal stripping takes care of the acrylite coating too. And so you're still having to pick up the holder and wipe the fiber. Is that correct?
Correct. So what that will do is it will take the majority of the acrylite off, but there will be remnants left. And again, we suggest a 2 to 4 wipe process once you've removed it, just to remove any of those particles that were left. And then once you've actually put it in the splicer and you engage your splicer, it will do a quick arc burn that is essentially just sterilizing the glass, getting it ready for a physical splice.
Have you seen any issues with aged fiber, older fiber that is very hard to strip just with a pair of millers itself, or have y'all run into that?
I tell you, Lee, the problem with the older fiber is not in the stripping. We find that to be more complicated because of the concentricity of the fiber is not near what it is today. So there you may have some issues in the alignment aspect of it. But when it comes to cleaning it, the thermal stripper pretty much, it'll heat it up, and it's got a compression fit when you close that door, so that it's pretty uniformly taking that jacketing off. And we haven't seen anything of real concern when it comes to stripping. I can't speak for Dave, but I can tell you on the enterprise side, I have not seen that.
We've not seen that. What we do see when there's older fiber sometimes is the lack of slack for some reason, which is a whole different problem. It has nothing to do with splicing or the machine, but it's just that it's been there for so long, and you're bringing things are done a little bit differently today than they were done 25 years ago at an airport or something. But
cool. Thank you, Lee, for the questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lee.
Next one is, how long does it take to terminate a connector?
Oh, that's a great question. So an experienced technician can get a splice-on connector terminated start to finish in approximately 2 minutes. Now, again, what's going to determine that is space, the level of experience, with our machine. I can tell you that we've hosted several competitions at some of the trade shows in regards to timing of a termination. And we had, I think, one of our technicians get down into 1.5, 1 minute, 50 seconds. Again, seasoned, experienced, having never touched the splicer. So, God knows what he could do if he could really if he got experienced on it. So I would say anywhere between 2 and 2.5 minutes for any level of technician, with I'd say just about a week or two worth of splicing on our machine.
Gotcha. Yeah. So 2.5 minutes, but Tommy 10 thumbs is 3 minutes, right? So you got to account for him. Is that correct?
7 minutes.
Yeah.
He'd
probably be around 3.5, 4, and have a
4 for Tommy 10 thumbs.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tommy. That answers a couple of my other questions, actually. Like, how much time does it save compared to a competing product that's not an all-in-one splicer? Like, how much time on average do you think?
So again, I think the biggest benefit to time savings is the setup, right? You get there, you're not looking for a tool. You've got a minimal space that you can put it in. Literally, you pull it out, turn it on, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
The key as well to our splicer versus traditional is the stripping. Okay. I can tell you, I've seen some really seasoned guys that can take that 1 inch off in literally the same time. But that is the hardest aspect to learn for any incoming fiber technician, is how to properly strip your fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this takes off 1 inch clean to the glass in 2 seconds. So you compound that with all of the other benefits and features, and you get somebody that can be truly productive on the unit. It can truly save you time across the large splice application.
It saves a ton of time. I can attest to that, because when I was trained, I did both. I did just the regular conventional way, and then the all-in-one. And it was because I was just fumbling around trying to figure out what to do next, and it's just all laid out there. The workflow's right there built in, so it's amazing.
I think a couple other things to be aware of too is that when you hand strip the fiber, and if you were to put that under a microscope, you'd probably see some scratches deeper into the fiber that you can't see with the naked eye. The thermal stripper, you're not going to get that. I mean, we've got pictures of that. People ask about that, what's the big deal, or here's the big deal. that if you could scratch and damage the fiber by hand stripping, it'll never happen on the thermal stripper. It'll come out clean. Also, some of our competitors use a pre-strip, pre-cleave connector. So they have a higher waste of connectors, meaning they might need 102, and this has been documented, or not documented, but told to me by some customers that I know intimately, that it'll take 120 of their connectors and maybe 103 or 105 of ours because of user error. But the pre-strip, pre-cleave, the pre-strip, pre-cleave connector, once you take it out of the packaging, if you touch it to anything, like if you put it down, probably game over. By the time you put it in the splicer, you're going to have an M-face error because the fiber's chipped and you got to throw it away. So we have a very high yield, meaning we don't have a lot of waste where our competitors do. And it's kind of, nobody keeps track of that. It's kind of just lost in the sauce type of thing. So that's another advantage to the all-in-one, actually.
Gotcha.
And our connectors have no shelf life on our connectors. Because
so, yeah, for those that have never seen our connector, it's a 1-inch pigtail. It's 900 micron buffered, fully buffered fiber. And again, you're able, you know, if it drops, it's protected right at the drop. Whereas with the pre-strip, pre-cleave, if you were to drop it, you risk damaging that connector. And as Dave mentioned, there's not, with it being fully buffered all the way up, it has no shelf life to it.
So the conversation around OM5, how does that relate to what you guys are doing? Is that something you guys can talk about, or is that?
So we've just released an OM5 LC connector. Where we're really seeing that start to manifest is in the data center application, is where we're seeing an OM5 technology. But we are fully prepared to support that technology. We have inventory in Carrollton right now that that is ready to ship upon receipt of order. So I think that I know that we're the first Splice-on Fusion connector to have an OM5 solution. And right now we're just kind of waiting for the industry to catch up and the application to get installed. But we are ready to attack it when it does come.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I was curious about that, obviously, and wasn't sure your stance on it and where you guys were, but it sounds like you're ahead of the curve of the industry. So that's good.
Yeah, we're trying.
We don't see that on the service provider market side. I mean,
Gotcha.
there's some OM4 in head end, not a lot currently. I'm sure over time some of that's going to change, but yeah, we're pretty much single mode APC all the way, with some LCs here and there.
Gotcha.
On the side.
Have you guys seen the Facebook robot that splices fiber automatically? Have you seen this thing that they're?
I have not.
Yeah.
But I got to get it all in one in its hands.
You might want to start some conversations with Zuckerberg because they're automating. I'm not sure how this is going to impact the industry. I mean, obviously, AI and automation tools have an impact on jobs, so it's something on the horizon. We all know that.
Is this the one that is on the line?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a pole crawl or like a cable crawler that just goes right down the line and
with it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen that. One other thing about this came up today, a question from a customer, which is apropos because they asked, and Lee will appreciate this, is they said, well, if I'm stripping, can I be doing anything else? Can I be using the fusion chamber or the heater chamber? And the answer is yes. Some of our competitors, you can only use one function at a time on the splicer. Whereas ours, you can, if you had a bunch of connectors to do or a bunch of splices to do, you can get in a rhythm and use all three automated functions simultaneously without having to wait for the other one to finish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Last couple items. Dixie cabling skills challenge. Did you guys participate in that? I think you guys had a presence there at some of the Bixie stuff at the conference.
When we were able to attend, yes, we did.
Yeah.
And we will, moving forward, we will continue to be engaged in that. That's great exposure, right?
Yeah.
That's where the physical ground level meets the technology, and that's the key for us. Is when these technicians can get in there, or anybody that's got that fiber experience, get in there and use the product. The hard part, and I know Brad had been working on some of it, is we had a challenge getting in there at first because it's not a same technology. So there was a marketable advantage to our product. So you take that for what it's worth. That was one of the hardest things, is because they claimed it would make them faster. That shocks me how that works. But so we did have some challenges initially becoming a part of that forum, because we have the Me Too technology. We have the standalone traditional equipment, but what we really wanted to do was platform our all-in-one technology. And moving forward, we're not in the physical arena, but we are on the outlying aspect of it, and people are still kind of coming in and touching it and playing with it. So that's the exposure we're really excited about.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up is because I want Lee and I to go head to head. And we're gonna battle it out for the championship. So Lee, buy your devices, get trained up, and we're going at it at the next conference. Sound good?
Oh, yeah, my age, I'm gonna have to go to the Ilsintech because my eyes aren't what they used to be.
Love it.
It'll be good, man. We'll figure it out. See, I've only done it a couple times. You're in the field all the time, aren't you, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not at the office doing paperwork, I try to be out in the field.
Yeah. Cool. So one of the takeaways that really hit home for me is there's not enough technicians to fill these jobs, which is so true, and that's what we're really trying to get people excited about. Like, learn these technologies, learn about fiber splicing. There's so much going on with fiber. It's kind of like a hot topic, and we obviously need the infrastructure to support all these. You know, I've got 3 phones that are running off of, my fiber internet and pulling all sorts of bandwidth, and we need this technology, and it's exciting to see stuff like this move things forward and speed things up and keep it simple, sort of. So anything else we want to wrap up with from Brad, Pete, or Dave? Anything we can
out there that if anybody who listens to this podcast buys a machine, we'll throw in a cleaning kit. It's got a pretty good value associated with it. So reason to check.
Reference, they saw it on Low Voltage Nation, and we'll toss in a cleaning kit for with the purchase.
I love it. Cool.
And the key is, again, I've got 30 years in the industry. I've worked as a contractor, I've worked in distribution, and I've worked in manufacturing. I've been with America Ilsintech for 7 years, and I have not been with a company that has provided me so much excitement, so much fun. This product really is game-changing in the market. And I can tell you, the best part is, if you're walking by our booth and I stop you and you say, I've seen a splicer, and you haven't heard of us, stop by and see us for a little bit. I'll change your mind real quick.
7 years. I've never had a job that long.
I just told Brad this is the first job in my 30 years that I've held over 6 years. So
yeah, that speaks a lot. At least for me, it does. But I hope we go beyond 7 years with this relationship and grow together. It's going to be great. Yeah.
And one other thing I'll kick in to Pete's point. So the product that preceded the KF4A is called the F1, and it was our first all-in-one, and that thing was built like a tank. And that fleet, we've got customers with fleets of them, and they're still out there running, and we service them. They're finally end of life technically, but they're running just fine. So, we use that as a testament to, hey, you're worried about 2 or 3 years. These machines are 6, 7 years old, and they're working fine, and they just keep them clean, and they're fine. So
Cool.
And just know, when you buy a UCL Swift product, you've got a team nationally that stands behind it. We've got everybody is passionate about this product that works with this company. We've got 15 salespeople across the country. So we really, wherever you are in the country, we're not far from you. And again, please reach out. And then reps, I've got 11 reps on the enterprise side, and I can't speak for Dave. Dave's got several on the broadband side as well. Our representation is saturated throughout the country. So if you're having a problem, please do not hesitate to reach out, and somebody will get you the service you need to handle whatever problem you're faced with.
Cool. I love it. Yeah, so Brad is in the Slack workspace for Low Voltage Nation. There is a vendors channel. So if there's any information we need to articulate to our members, then Brad is very active in there, which is awesome. I love when people really use the Slack workspace as a tool, market researching and then connecting with our members. So if you guys want to relay anything to him to get to our team and our group, then that's the way to go. So I appreciate everybody's time. This has been great, like a really good hot seat. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Yeah, you do the same.
Have a good one. Take care.
Yep, thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.